What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great day or night whenever you're watching this. We got to talk about the Los Angeles Clippers, and my question to you guys is, do you think the Los Angeles Clippers can win an NBA championship this season, or do you think that they will not win an NBA championship this season? I'm going to give off reasons as to why I think that this is their best chance ever to get a championship. It's the most wide open, and this team is on paper and on the court, they are fully loaded. And it's been a fun thing to watch if you like good basketball. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video. But let's talk about the Clippers roster and the makings of it as to why they're so dominant right now and why this team could potentially be that team that has made it out the West and takes home a chip this year. You have to start with the star power. You can't go anywhere else. It doesn't matter, right? If you don't have star power, you don't have a chance. So you have Kawhi Leonard, who has been healthy this season, has played in most of the games. He's even playing in back-to-backs. He's looking awesome. You have Paul George. He's looking great. You have James Harden, who has figured it out with this team and being the facilitator and playing in that third or fourth option. You have Russell Westbrook off the bench playing that sixth-man role. Right, so those are the main four. That's the four big guys on this team in terms of who everybody would recognize. But outside of them, they have so many other quality players. Ivica Zubac, super good. Super good center, reliable, consistent, does the dirty work. I like him. Terrence Mann can play. Norman Powell is a baller. So right there, we're already at like 7 guys, and all these dudes are starters on 29 other NBA teams, more than likely. So you have that, right? And then you have Mason Plumlee, who just got back. You have Amir Coffey, who shoots well over 40% from 3. Like, they have so much going on this team, but it's clicking. And they have coaching, which I think allows things to click and puts guys in the right situations. And just as a whole, the team is a top 10 offensive team and a top 10 defensive team. That's a pretty good signature signal as to what they could be in the playoffs and how hard they could be to beat in a 7-game series. We haven't seen a healthy Clippers team in the playoffs since the bubble. We really haven't. After that, Kawhi got hurt. And then Paul George went bananas, but it just wasn't enough against the Phoenix Suns in, I think, 2021. Then there's 2022. I'm going to forget what happens throughout history, but we haven't seen this team healthy at any point since the bubble. And we're in 2024 now. That was 4 years ago. So this is the best shot that this team has had up until this point. And this is the most loaded it's been. I don't know how they built this roster the way they did, but it's such a really, really good roster. And I feel like when we're talking about teams in the West, we're like, all right, who's going to go contend for a championship this year? There's so many question marks, and there's so many teams that get talked about more than the Clippers. And it's kind of shocking to me, given the market and everything. But so a team that has question marks is like the Thunder, they're awesome, they're young, but we just don't know about that playoff experience. We don't know how great that team could be. There's the Nuggets, they're the defending champs. You have Nikola Jokic, it's undeniable. We know that team will turn up in the playoffs, but they're not quite the same as they were a year ago. And, getting back to them, staying on top is harder than getting to the top, in my opinion. At least historically it has been. And then you have teams like the Timberwolves. What are we going to get out of them in the playoffs? Then there's teams that get talked about more, like the Phoenix Suns, because they have KD, D-Book, Bradley Beal, and some other pretty solid players. And they're kind of hitting their stride right now, too. And there's the Lakers, who are getting talked about more. There's certain teams, like I would say right now, that just haven't played as good as them and are getting more recognition. But the Clippers have really put together a really good season. They had a stretch, once they traded for James Harden, where they lost like 6 straight games, whatever it was. But this is why you can't just expect things to go perfectly immediately. Sometimes it takes a couple weeks for guys to kind of figure each other out, for coaches to figure out rotations and things of that nature. But this is a team, like I said, they're top 10 in scoring. They're top 10 in defense. They're like top 3 or 4 in steals. They're a top 5 shooting team. Then they're number 1 from 3. So overall, they get buckets from everywhere because you have Kawhi and Paul George who like to work that middle of the floor. Even Russ likes to take the middies. So and then you have spacers like a Norman Powell. And then you have like an Amir Coffey. Paul George can shoot. Kawhi can shoot. So their best players all do all the things that you need from your best players in a playoff series. They're going to have guys to lean on. Now, obviously, and I mentioned earlier, the biggest thing that can hold this team back is health. To me, health is the number one thing that could stop them. But they've been healthy to this point. And I feel like and then maybe call me out on this if you don't agree. I feel like when you rest players as much as they did, it leads to more injuries. Because they're just not playing as active as everybody else. So when you're just not quite as frequent as everybody else, your chances of injury, because you get those small, like a hamstring, a groin, a calf, you get the strains of muscle tendons. And I feel like with the Clippers, they've just been so cursed with it that now you have your guys playing majority of the games. I feel like the basketball gods, we're kind of getting philosophical here, but basketball gods will kind of reward that. Like, hey, you guys are going to play? Okay, you guys are going to play most of the games. And I get it when you get to April if you're resting a game here or there. But, like, this is the problem that they had before is they couldn't find consistency because their guys were always injured. Now they're healthy and they're being consistent and they're dominant. Now, there is two things when you watch them play, and it is kind of obvious just because they are not a huge team, right? They're kind of middle of the pack in rebounding. But I think getting Mason Plumlee back within the last couple of weeks will definitely help the rebounding numbers because they won't have to play small as often. So now you can, get out and transition a little bit quicker. Yeah, you're not giving up as many offensive rebounds. You're kind of controlling the game on the glass a little bit. I think they're like 15th in total rebounding. You get into that top 12, helps your case a little bit, especially in the playoffs because those possessions mean everything. So that's a spot where they're kind of middle of the pack. So it's not like they're just amazing at everything, right? They're great at a lot of things you need to be good at, and they're middle of the pack in some things that you can survive. So like rebounding, given that you're middle of the pack, you could probably be okay, but you got Plumlee back, that should help. Then they're kind of a middle of the pack assist team. If you look at it statistically, when you watch them play the ball, it does move a lot. The difference with this team, and maybe this is just my eye test lying to me, they have a lot of ISO guys. James Harden loves to ISO. Paul George loves to ISO. Kawhi Leonard loves to ISO. Those guys love to ISO, get to the mid-range, get to the rim. That's kind of what a lot of their game is predicated on. But when you have guys like Norman Powell, even Russ likes to pass, like you have dudes that are going to spread the rock and spread the love. Even Harden is great at it. So I feel like them being middle of the pack in assists doesn't tell the whole story because they play within an offense that allows all their guys to get off. So it's going to be a little like sometimes, hey, let me dribble the ball a little bit. Let me create my own shot. Let me get into my own rhythm. Because a lot of these guys, that's what it takes. So you have a little bit of discrepancy, I think, there in the assist ratio. But ultimately, they're a good ball movement team. They know when to go to ISO and when not to. And they're an awesome defensive team. And that's because when you have guys like Paul George who are awesome on that end, Kawhi Leonard who still has it on that end, they're led by their main guys. How many think of how the other main top teams are, all of them, for the most part, have their main guys playing defense. And the ones that aren't playing defense aren't going to win anything. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of the Clippers this year. Do you think that this is their best chance? We're about halfway through, a little over halfway through the season, and they've been healthy to this part. I hope they stay healthy because we haven't seen a healthy Clippers team in the playoffs in too many years. So now this is the best chance they have. Granted, if they stay healthy, I would say since the bubble, since that year, this is the healthiest they've been to this point in the season. So ultimately, this is their best shot, in my opinion. This is the year they have to do it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video. But I really do think this is the Clippers' best shot, and it could be their last shot. But this is a great time for them to be playing their best basketball. Only got a couple months to the playoffs. They just got to keep going, stay healthy. I hope they do, because that's going to be a team that's going to be a dog in a 7-game series if they're healthy. And that's going to mean great playoff basketball between all the top teams. And that's what we want to see. So, thanks for watching. I'm done. Peace.